The best of Money Matters. The Big Story.
Welcome to The Big Story. I'm your host, Hongbin Jeong. Now, due to popular demand, we have in this studio someone who was famously known to rep the duck symbol during GE2025 because it looks calm on the outside but works hard in the water. Now, he became an overnight internet sensation during this year's election as an independent candidate who captured the hearts of many with his ingenuity and candor in Radin Mas SMC. At just 28 years old, he won 23.47% of the vote, ranking the second highest in a three-cornered fight between the incumbent PAP and opposition party PAR in that constituency. So joining us today to share more about how he managed to win the hearts of Singaporeans of all ages and bridging the generational gap despite his first time in politics is none other than Darryl Lo, the independent candidate who ran for Radin Mas SMC during GE 2025. Darryl, welcome to the show.
Hi, Hongbin. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you so much for joining us. Darryl, you were in a three-cornered fight between the PAP and PAR in Radin Mas SMC during GE 2025. Yet you managed to retain the second highest number of vote shares as an independent candidate, which amounted to 23.47% in the SMC, outperforming the seasoned opposition candidate Kumar Apavu. Do you see the results as a moral victory or a missed opportunity?
Yeah, I see it as a victory. I think since Singapore's independence, we have never had an independent to actually win like the opposition in a three-cornered fight. So I think I'm pretty happy with the results. I think 23.47% equates to about 5,300 votes, and that is a lot for an independent candidate.
Did you expect those results?
No, not really. I think for the longest time I would expect to lose my deposit, but I think being a Radin Mas resident as well helped me with my performance this time around.
Okay. Well, on record, you are 28 years old. And when you look at the demographics of Radin Mas SMC, they're much older. How did you convince a constituency like Radin Mas, which skews significantly older, that you understood their lived realities? I mean, was your age ever a strategic liability when it came to establishing trust or authority?
Yeah, I think a lot of people have asked me, like, why are you running here, right? There's so many seniors in this area. But I think I've lived here for almost 25 years. So I experienced the same things that they do, the municipal issues, the same buses that we traveled with, the same coffee shops. So I actually lived like them. So I think that's an added benefit. So not so much of a liability on age.
Oh, okay. Was there a particular moment or encounter with, let's say an older resident that made you realize age didn't matter at all when it comes to discussing the future of Singapore?
Yeah, so I have, when I gave out my flyers and walkabouts, I have received some emails from a resident, and then he asked to meet on one of the nights during campaigning period, and then I met up with him. We talked for about an hour on the issues that I was bringing forward, and he agreed with me that those policies are aligned with his and that he would vote for me. So he's a way senior adult, I think about 60 years old. So I think some of them are really rational. They see what is presented, the choices that they can go with, the PAP, PR, or me, and then they decided that, perhaps I'm the better candidate amongst the three of them.
Were those messages why you kept running and kept going forward?
Yeah, I think there's no way I would stop halfway campaigning, so I have to push on, even though the odds are stacked against me. But I think it's really all the nice positive comments coming in, especially from people of my generation, leave Instagram DMs and comments, and they have been really positive, so I'm very thankful for that. Yeah.
Amazing. Well, among your most loyal supporters was your very own mother. Was your desire to run as a candidate during GE 2025 somewhat inspired by your parents?
Well, I would say that they are not political buff, so they don't really care a lot about politics. But I think as parents, they would just support me because their son is running for the election, and I think that's very sweet of them. Yeah.
What were their responses when you said, I'm going to run as an independent candidate?
Yeah, they were like, why not join a party, right? Independent is hard. I think that's the lived realities. We have seen past independent candidates not even getting back their deposit. Right. But also they're like, just go for it. Just try it out. You will never know, right? They also say that that it's important for one to actually see like how you manage the whole campaign as an independent, right, before you join a party, if you ever do. So I think it's really like living through the whole campaigning period and really like setting out your own campaign, being your own campaign manager, for instance. So so that's the advice that I gave.
Right. Well, I have the same question that your parents posed for you. Why didn't you join a party? Why did you decide to run as an independent candidate?
Yeah, so I think a lot of misconception is that you can just easily join a party and they will accept you and put you up for candidacy in the current election, right? I think when I made up my mind to run for elections, it was in January. That was when I quit my job as well. But it is not so easy for someone, a credible opposition, to actually put your name up for elections just 4 months before the election, right? So I think you would have to really volunteer with them for years, and then they will judge you by your character and your experience. So I think being just 4 months away from the elections is actually difficult to join a party and then be put up for elections. So I think it is about the speed and what I wanted to bring to the table as soon as possible. So I just like, okay, why not just put myself up as an independent and then run this campaign on my own.
Okay. What made you believe that you could break through in Radin Mas?
Yeah, so really I think because I was a past voter in 2020 as well, and then the opposition candidate whom seemed likely to run in 2025 doesn't really touch grounds a lot. Like a lot of people don't really know who he is, and really like he wasn't even present for some of the live broadcasts at that time during 2020 when there was a COVID period. So you could see that he's not very on the ground and on ball, right? So I think Radin Mas residents deserve a different choice. So I think I could put myself up and then see how it goes. And I think I'm very glad that I actually did that. Yeah.
Amazing. Well, GE2025 showed that independent candidates have emerged as fan favorites this time round. What did GE2025 reveal to you about the state of democracy here in Singapore? And do you think the playing field is truly level for independents?
Yeah, I think it's still at a very infant stage. I think for the longest time, it is always a two-party system. But in 2020, there was two PSP and CMPs, but there has never been a independent voice in Parliament except for the nominated members of Parliament. But let's not talk about them, right? Because, some of them have actually left their roles as NMPs to join a political party, which I think was bad in that sense. Yeah, so I think the playing field is never level for independents or non-incumbents. That could be for the PAP or the Workers' Party, right? Because we have seen that in PAP strongholds, PAP has always been getting majority votes, like way above like 70% of the votes. And that is the same case for Workers' Party as well. It is hard for the PAP to break into the incumbency of the Workers' Party strongholds in Aljunied, Hougang and Sengkang, right? So I think the playing field is never level, but one thing I will add is this is a challenge for everyone except the ruling party, is that the electoral boundaries was revealed to the Prime Minister, who is also the Secretary General of the PAP, on the 7th of March. And that is only presented to the public or to Parliament on the 11th of March. So that is the 4-day advantage that the PAP Secretary General had as compared to any other parties and any other independents. So I think that is something that we should really consider, whether the electoral boundaries should be presented to the President and then laid on the table immediately as compared to sending it to the Secretary General of the PAP, which is also the Prime Minister.
Some great perspective there. Well, also here, social media netizens have been pouring out their never-ending support for you ever since your first speech on nomination day. How has this newfound internet fame been like for you, considering you are an introverted person by nature?
Yeah, I think it's really challenging. So sometimes people come up to me to ask for photos or autographs, right? I'll do them, but it's really like challenging for me because I'm really very shy in person. So I try not to extend in attention to get too much attention on myself. But I think in this election, there's really no choice. I really have to put myself out there. And I was prepared for the public scrutiny in that sense. So yeah.
Well, did your social media popularity play a key role during your run in GE 2025, you think?
Yeah, I think it played a huge impact, especially to younger voters in Radin Mas, and also the idea that social media actually carried some weight in terms of traditional media where they interviewed me in person or joined me for walkabouts. So I think without the social media game going on, I think no traditional media would be interested in following me on my walkabouts or even doing doorstop interviews with me, which I think that that really helped, especially in my candidacy at Radin Mas, where most of them are seniors and then they read print media. So I think most of them, when they did the doorstops interview, they print it out in print media. So I think that's where I got some substantial amount of votes in that sense.
Since, you've got this popularity on social media, and do you think you'll leverage social media more to kind of talk about the policies or, public policies or politics, ahead, moving forward?
Yeah, for sure. I think what I've gained from this election is really a platform, align people who are interested in policy proposals that I've put up. For instance, the full-time MP scheme and also harsher penalties for drink driving, right? I think those two they get a lot of views and a lot of comments on them, and they agreed with these policy proposals. So I think in future, I'll put up more policy proposals and to get feedback from people on social media and then to see whether they could actually perhaps do a draft reply so that they can send it to their members of parliament, the MPs who are elected. So I think that's moving forward. That's what I will do. I will continue to be interested in politics. I will continue to put up issues relating to social issues or even politics on my platform.
Okay. Well, since we're on the topic of social media, let's dive deeper into this. As an independent candidate, you have, limited resources when compared to that of a party, as you mentioned earlier in our conversation. Now, according to an article from the Straits Times, you spent $12,000 on your campaign, of which almost $8,000 went to printing flyers and posters. Why did you decide to invest the majority of your fund into, physical collateral rather than investing it elsewhere, such as, pushing for your online campaign?
Yeah, so I think because the nature of Radin Mas residents, they are mostly seniors and just wanted to really get out more print materials. So they include flyers, brochures, as well as posters all around the neighborhood, and then to drop it off door to door. So that required some money. And then really for the online campaigning, it's really cheap because I didn't do any paid advertisements. I hired this content creation firm called Curious Media. And then it was so cheap. It is a Singapore SME and they say $1.2K a month. So I hired them for 2 months to really work on this campaign. So they did the filming, the editing, and really to buff up my content and highlight reels and stuff like that. So that is in itself like 2.4K. It was a well-spent investment actually. So I'm so very thankful to the team there.
Okay. Well, then if you could rework your campaign plans, looking back, what would you have done differently?
Yeah, I would really put up a volunteer recruitment form. I think that's very important. I think at the start I didn't think about really using a lot of volunteers because you never know where these people come from, and I want to really interact with them to know where their ideas are and whether they are aligned with mine before getting them on my team. So I think now, given the long runway to 2030, not sure if I'm going to run then, but I think right now I would start really recruiting volunteers, getting them on my team, and then to look at their background, what are they good at. Maybe some of them are really good at technology, some of them are good at building softwares and stuff like that. So we can really get them on our team and then to see what we can work out of. I think volunteer management is very crucial in an election campaign, which I didn't spend much time on, which that is a mistake, I think. Yeah.
Okay, well, lesson learned, and hopefully if you do decide to run in 2030, that's something you would do differently. Now, post-election results, I was looking through your social media as well. You personally sent a congratulatory message to your opponent, Mr. Melvin Jeong, where you also shared with him some of the concerns of Radin Mas and included some suggestions. So I want to ask you, has he responded to your email? And if so, what has come out of that exchange so far?
Yeah, he has responded to the email 1 day after, and he's usually very fast to responding emails. Just some context, we have written to each other numerous times on many issues relating to municipal and also politics, right? So I knew he would reply to me, and what came out of that was he asked to meet up, and I think we are going to do it either this week or next week. So I think there's a lot of things that we could work together on. I think as a Radin Mas resident myself, he's my MP elect, so there's really a lot of things that I will share with him to really get him to work on those issues, especially if it affects a wider group of people.
So for some of the listeners who haven't seen the message, what were some of the concerns or issues that were discussed between you and Mr. Jeong?
Yeah, so some of the issues are really municipal related issues. There are a lot of rats, cockroaches, mosquitoes in the area, in the general area. There's some really rubbish stench in some of the blocks where I was a polling agent of, and really like to encourage a community dog run program where we can build a small dog run for the dog owners in Radin Mas. So those are some of the issues. And of course, I wanted to bring up some of my political stance on social issues on drink driving as well. So that is some of the policy proposals that I've done in my campaign in the same email that I sent to Mr. Melvin Yeoh.
I see. Well, looking ahead now that the general election season has ended, you did mention that you're not sure whether or not you're going to run in the next GE elections in 2030. But what are the chances of us seeing you in the political scene again?
Yeah, I think I will still continue to be involved. I think a lot of things, whether my involvement in politics as a candidate will really depend on electoral boundaries, which will only be reviewed, I think, 5 years later. So we will never know if Radin Mas will remain as an SMC or will it be absorbed in Tanjong Pagar or even West Coast, right? So that is still pending. So I don't want to confirm my candidacy as of now, but I think when I put myself up for elections this time around, there are some issues that I wanted the incumbents to resolve, and so far none of them have been resolved yet. Right, because Parliament hasn't said, right? So I think because of this, a lot of the issues are non-resolved. So I think if they're not going to resolve them, I'm going to run again in 2030. So yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, if you do run again, would you be running as an independent, or are you currently in talks with other political parties?
I think there are really benefits as running as an independent because you manage your own campaign, right? You don't have to deal with party members, party politics. And whether or not I will join or am I in talks with other political parties, I'm in talks with some of them, the smaller ones. But it is just talking, there's no concrete plans, and 5 years is still a long runway for anyone to decide. So,
right. Yeah. You know, some believe that the most effective way to enact change is from within the system. I mean, you've positioned yourself as an independent voice, but if the PAP invited you to run under their banner in the next election, would you consider it? I
think that's the misconception where you think you can change from within, but I think it is most likely that you get change from outside, even if you join the PAP. So I think for the longest time, they haven't made much improvements in terms of changing themselves, right? You can't expect someone to change themselves, especially if they have gotten a strong mandate. So I don't think it's up to me that I can change the party from within. So I think we can all observe what they're going to do in the next 5 years and then make our own decision.
Okay. Well, before we let you go here, Darryl, any message you would like to send to the people of Radin Mas SMC or the people of Singapore?
Yeah, really, thank you to the people of Radin Mas who have voted for me. And even though you have not voted for me, I think it's still very great to actually run this constituency that I lived in. I think a lot of people don't realize is that if they get a lot of votes, or if the incumbent gets a lot of votes, it actually makes things a little harder for us to raise issues. But now, given that their vote share has actually decreased and neighboring constituencies' vote share has increased, so that actually shows that there is some problem within Radin Mas that I think the MP-elect will have to do a better job at. So I think that is what I want to share with the residents of Radin Mas.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Darryl, for joining me today.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you. That was Darryl Lo, the independent candidate who ran for Radin Mas SMC in GE 2025. This has been The Big Story with me, Hongbin Jeong.
To listen to more great interviews, download our podcasts at audio.sg or download the audio app. That's AWEDIO, audio at the App Store and Google Play.